Hello and welcome. My name is Nicholas Callis. This is Major League Baseball's virtual network. Matt Vasgersian, Dan Plesac, and Mark DeRosa will be on for the game at 9:20 between the Indians and the Angels, but I'll be covering this game between the Mets and the Phillies and the game later on between the Cardinals and the Braves. But as we get to it, here's Jake Arrieta on the mound. He's starting for the Phillies. 3-5 in 10 starts, has a .332 earned run average. 57 innings total. Former Cy Young Award winner with the Chicago Cubs. Also played for the Baltimore Orioles early in his career. And he'll face Brandon Nimmo to lead off the ball game.
The center fielder, Brandon Nimmo.
Nimmo, a .248 hitter entering play. And the first pitch of the ball game's a strike.
0-1.
The Philadelphia Phillies coming to this game with a 29-23 record. They're in second place in the National League East behind the Washington Nationals. The Mets have struggled this season and have spent most of the year in last place. However, the East has been one of the more competitive divisions this season, as well as in recent seasons. The Mets are 4.5 games back of the Nationals for first place entering play. The count's 2 balls and a strike. And want to bring up something technically, the Nationals and Phillies are tied for first place in the National League East. They both have 29-23 records. So the Phillies looking to stay on pace for first place, and the Mets trying to gain ground in the National League East. They are 1 game back of the Braves, who are in 4th place. Appeals unsuccessful. Count runs full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to open up the ball game. 3-2 pitch coming from Arrieta. He is hit in the air and foul, and the count's still full 3-2. Full count pitch one more time. Got him swinging. That's out number 1. Arrieta starts the ball game out with a strikeout. That'll bring up Jeff McNeil.
The left fielder, number 6.
Stereotypically, left-handers hit better against right-handed pitching, but McNeil quite the opposite of that, a .345 hitter against left-handers. He has more power and run production against righties, but has a better average against left-handers. But here's the pitch from Arrieta. That's outside, counts 1-0.
Count 1-0.
McNeil 13 for 20 against Arrieta. These two have played each other frequently ever since Arrieta has been a part of the Phillies. Arrieta joined the Phillies around the same time that McNeil made his Major League debut. 1-0 pitch on the ground toward the middle. Played by Gene Segura. That's out number 2. 2 quick outs for Jake Arrieta in the first. And with that, it's time to take a look at the starting lineup for the Mets. J.D. Davis was acquired last season. He's playing more in the majors this season. He's been the starting third baseman for quite a while. And doing well, too. He's been hitting several home runs. Everybody else on this team is a familiar face. Been on the team for at least 1 season heading into this year. And here's Pete Alonso. Baseball's home run leader last year with 53. Also broke a record for most single-season rookie home runs. 1-0 pitch from Arrieta. That's a strike. The count's even, 1 ball and 1 strike. These are the only 2 NL East teams facing off today. The Nationals are playing the Rangers. The Cardinals are playing the Braves. As that swung on and missed, the count's 1-2. And the Marlins are playing the Cubs.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Counts even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Again, the Phillies want to keep pace for first place. They're tied with the Nationals right now. The Mets want to gain some ground. So this game will have direct impacts on the National League East after this game and after this 3-game series. This is game 1 of the 3-game series starting today. That's fouled off. The count's still full 3-2. But the Mets just a game back of the Braves for 4th place.
Nope.
Inside ball 4, 2-out walk to Pete Alonso.
Batting full, the second baseman.
Speaking of the Braves, too, the Mets had an opportunity to take fourth place after they played the Braves in a 3-game series, but the Mets lost 2 of 3 in that series. Oh, excuse me, no, the Mets won 2 out of 3 games against the Braves. So they did capitalize and moved up in the standings. They had a comeback on our game featured on Sunday. They were down 3-0, and Sean Newcomb was pitching well, but then the Mets had a 5-run 6th inning. And then they carried the ball game away after that. There have been several teams that have been hot in the National League East. The Mets are one of them, as of recently. The Mets won 5 of 7 games they played last week and started this week with a win. Had an off day yesterday. Cano grounds to third, played by Kingery. He throws to Segura, out at second. Alonso, the top of the first is over. No runs, no hits, 1 walk in the inning, and 1 person left on for the Mets. To the bottom of the first inning we go. It's the Mets 0 and the Phillies coming to bat. Here's Michael Wacha on the mound for the New York Mets, former St. Louis Cardinal. Was one of the top pitchers in baseball, but as he's aged, his production has arguably gotten worse. He has a 3-1 record in 10 starts and an ERA of 4.99. Right on the border of a 5 ERA. But here's Gene Segura. He'll lead off for the Phillies to start the bottom of the first. Wacha's first pitch is outside. The count's 1-0. The Mets in last place in the NL East, but we already talked about how they're making a climb and how the NL East is competitive this season. The Mets are just a game back of the Braves for fourth place in the NL East, and they're 4.5 games back of the Nationals and Phillies, who are tied for first place. Counts 2-0. The Mets were down as many as 9 games this season, but have crawled their way back as that's hit into right field. Gene Segura's got a base hit. The first one for either team. Yeah, look at this again. It was a bit of a late swing, but he still got a good part of the bat on it. Allowed him to square it up and hit it into the shallow outfield for a base hit. Here's Andrew McCutchen. That pitch misses high. The count's 1-0. McCutchen, a .321 hitter with 4 home runs and 19 RBIs. Former most valuable player with the Pittsburgh Pirates, also played for the San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees. As that pitch is hit into right field, Conforto under it makes the catch. Segura didn't tag, so he'll retreat back to first, and that's 1 out here on the bottom of the first inning. And with that, we'll take a look at the starting lineup for the Phillies. Didi Gregorius, the newest piece of this Phillies team, the shortstop now. That moved Gene Segura to second base. Again, the Phillies on paper are a strong team. Although last season they managed a 4th place finish. Swing and a miss, the count's 0-1. They finished 81-81. And the NL East was very competitive last year as well. You had the Braves in first place. They led the division. The Nationals, who became hot in the month of September and early October. And then the Mets, who also became hot and just not quite good enough to make it into the postseason, but they had over 80 wins to finish the year. And the Phillies finished in 4th place with an 81-81 record, just above the Marlins. This team demonstrated some potential, and again, on paper, this is a quality team. Just last year didn't have anything to show for it, but made a couple new additions to the team. Zach Wheeler's now in the rotation. Didi Gregorius adds some middle infield veteran presence. So they're making a run at it again. They started April off in the middle of this division, but are now tied for first place. And they've been playing well for the most part. Swing and a miss. Michael Wacha got Harper with a breaking ball. And now there are 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning.
Batting fourth, the first baseman, Reed Hoskins.
So with 2 outs in the bottom of the first, Rhys Hoskins comes to the plate as Jean Segura gets back to the bag safely. Line to the right center field, and that's going to be a base hit, possibly extra. Segura's headed toward third. Nimmo picks it up in center, and the throw in to Rosario holds Segura at third base. Rhys Hoskins is in at second with a 2-out double. Low struck ball in the right center field gap. Enough to get him extra bases. The Phillies playing conservative in the first inning, not sending Segura with 2 outs. Now here's JT Realmuto. Won a Silver Slugger award last year. That was his first season with the Phillies. He won that award. 258 hitter this season with 6 home runs and 24 RBIs. Walker's 0-1. That's outside. The count's even 1 ball and 1 strike. Realmuto has 6 home runs on the season. That's good for second on the Phillies team.
2-1.
The National League leader in home runs, just to put that in perspective, though, is over 20. Ronald Acuna Jr. leads the league in home runs. Popped up into right field. There's Michael Conforto. He has it, and that ends the first inning. The Phillies get no runs on 2 hits and leave both those runners on base. After 1 full inning of play, it's the Mets 0 and the Phillies 0. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. 5-6-7 hitters due up for the Mets. J.D. Davis, the first to come up to the plate. 11 home runs for him on the year. Former Houston Astros prospect, now playing with the Mets and doing a great job, at least from an offensive perspective, but also playing third base. And he's been consistently batting in the middle of the order. That pitch misses low. The count's even 1 ball and 1 strike. So some news coming out of sports in general. And this is real life sports. Breaking news, the National Hockey League will abandon the rest of the regular season and will go straight to the playoffs with 24 teams. And that's still a question mark because the end of that sentence says, if the season resumes. So the NHL will not play the rest of the regular season, will potentially have a postseason, and if it does, 24 teams will be in. Wherever the standings set now, they'll have a 24 team postseason. Swinging a ground ball left side by Davis, played by Kingery. He throws to Rhys Hoskins. That's the first out of the second inning. And here's the starting defense for the Phillies. McCutchen in left field, Jay Bruce in center, Bryce Harper in right, then Scott Kingery at third base, Didi Gregorius at short, Jean Segura at second, Rhys Hoskins at first, JT Realmuto, a Gold Glove Award winner last season, behind the plate. There's Michael Conforto. Had a slow start to this season. 196 average entering play, 8 home runs and 18 RBIs for him. Conforto made his debut with the Mets in 2015. Was a part of their World Series roster. He's been a starting outfielder for them ever since. Has bounced around between left field, center field, and right field over the years, but has mostly started this season in right field. Foul ball down the right field line. The count's now 1-2. Some more breaking news coming out of sports. This one directly involves baseball, but before that 1-2 pitch fouled off. Major League Baseball proposes pay cuts for highest paid players while giving lowest paid full prorated shares. I know there's a lot of controversy going around baseball. Players want money. Some players don't care. Season format proposals have been coming out left and right. Owners wanting pay cuts. Now it seems like they're trying to share salaries amongst players. Interesting proposal. Just another suggestion put into the mix as the world tries to resume with sports. Wilson Ramos just singled off Jake Arrieta, and that's the first hit for the Mets in this game. So 2 outs, runner on first base. And here's Ahmed Rosario, former top prospect of the Mets. He's been their starting shortstop for a few years. He's a very quick player. A consistent bat, though, hasn't developed for him as a player. That's grounded into right field, base hit for him. Harper quickly throws to second, but safe at second is Wilson Ramos. He hustles out. That hit so Ahmed Rosario could get a single. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter for the Mets, Michael Wacha. Softly hit ground ball, second base. There's Segura. Throws to Hoskins, and that ends the top of the second. Despite the Mets getting 2 hits and getting 2 runners on, they fail to score in the top of the second. Going to the bottom of the second, it's the Phillies 0 and the Mets 0. This is Major League Baseball's virtual network. This game brought to you by MLB The Show 20, and I am Nicholas Callis. 6, 7, 8 hitters due up for the Phillies in this half inning. Didi Gregorius, Jay Bruce, and Scott Kingery. Line drive into right field. Back toward the wall goes Conforto, and that ball is gone. Didi Gregorius hits home run number 7 on the season. The Phillies are out to an early 1-0 lead. Well, there's a reason he's on this team. Just because the Yankees didn't want to invest in him in the offseason doesn't mean that he couldn't be valuable somewhere else. Though he struggled with average this season, he still had some pop in his bat. And demonstrates it with that at bat, hitting a home run. Another former Yankee, a player and a manager of the Yankees, Joe Girardi, is now managing the Phillies. This is his first season managing, and he and Didi Gregorius connected well in New York. And Girardi was part of the reason why Gregorius got signed in the first place, because those two mixed well, and Girardi knows the value of Gregorius on a baseball team. Here's Jay Bruce up to the plate. Jay Bruce playing center field in this game, and he will be as the season goes on. Adam Hazley got injured, so the Phillies outfield has shrunken a bit. This allows Jay Bruce's bat to be in the lineup, but he's never been known for great defense. Definitely been a good defender, but center field might be a stretch for him. As he ages, he doesn't have the range to play out there anymore, but the Phillies trusting him to try to do it, and so far with him inserted in center field, Phillies have been winning games and keeping pace for first place, so that's where he stays at the moment. He strikes out in that at bat, though, so with 1 out, here comes Scott Kingery. There's a run in already in this half inning. Didi Gregorius hit a home run. We just got some breaking news that the NHL... Well, never mind that for a second. That ball struck well to center field, and that ball's gone. Hold up for the news announcement. Scott Kingery just hit his 7th home run of the season. The Phillies have a 2-run lead now on not back-to-back solo home runs, but 2 solo home runs in this half inning. Gregorius homered. Bruce struck out. And now Kingery homers. Michael Walker struggling early. Gregorius' hit was to right field, but Kingery sent this one to dead center field. Past that 409 sign, deepest part of the ballpark. Now here's Jake Arrieta. But the NHL says it'll abandon the rest of the regular season, and of course I see Eric Letford in the live chat talking about how the Blues will have a chance to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. I see you're passionate about all your St. Louis sports teams. That's upstairs, but called a strike. The count's even at 1-1, and nothing wrong with that. St. Louis, for the most part, has been definitely a respectful city when it comes to sports. The Cardinals definitely have some class. So not a bad city to root for. 0-1's outside, counts 2-1. That finds the zone. The count's even 2-2, and Arrieta exercising some patience at the plate, as most hitters do. Or most hitting pitchers do. Tongue-tied there a bit. 3-2 pitch coming from Michael Wacha. Line drive foul. Arrieta swinging on that full count pitch. Extending the plate appearance. At least one more pitch. Again fouling off a pitch. Keeps the count full 3-2. Full count pitch one more time. Pitcher facing pitcher. Softly hit towards center field. Nimmo able to run it down. That's out number 2 in the bottom of the second.
Now batting, the second baseman.
And with 2 outs, the top of the order comes back up for the Phillies. Gene Segura, the second baseman, stands in. He singled off Wacha last inning. Getting his second plate appearance already in inning number 2. That's a strike. The count's 0-1. Except for football. Yes, that is another story. Yeah, that kind of upset me. I like the Rams in St. Louis. But what do you do with the NFL? Not much you can do. Counts even 1-1. Didi Gregorius hit a home run to start this bottom of the second inning. Scott Kingery with 1 out hit a solo home run. 2-0 Phillies. 2 outs bottom of the second. 1-1 to Gene Segura. That's inside. And the count's 2-1. The Mets struggling early on the back of Michael Wacha. Phillies got a couple hits in the first inning too, just didn't score any. But left the yard twice in this inning. Grounded to second. There's Cano, throws to Alonso. And that ends the second inning. Gregorius and Kingery homer. They give the Phillies a 2-0 lead going into inning number 3. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. As we come into the third inning, the Phillies have a 2-0 lead. Leadoff hitters for the Mets coming to the plate. Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, and Pete Alonso all scheduled to bat this inning. 1-0 pitch. Grounded right side. Past Segura, base hit. Harper will get it in to Gregorius. And the Mets have something going for them now. They got a few hits last inning. And they get a leadoff hit this inning. Down 2 runs. That'll bring up Jeff McNeil. McNeil grounded out in the first inning, getting his second plate appearance here. McNeil, one of the best contact hitters in baseball, a .314 average, also has been on base frequently as well, has a .369 on base percentage. Made his debut with the Mets in 2018. And last season established himself as one of the best contact hitters in baseball. It's been hard for him to find a starting spot, though, on the roster. As that's lined to first, caught by Rhys Hoskins, and tagged out immediately was Brandon Nimmo.
The first baseman.
One pitch, 2 outs.
Alonso.
Unfortunate play there for the Mets. Pete Alonso will come to the plate. 2 outs, top of the third inning. Alonso walked in his first plate appearance, coming up for the second time, facing Jake Arrieta. That's down low. The count's 1-0. Alonso made his major league debut last season
2 balls, no strikes.
and had a breakout year, hitting for power and breaking records. Won the home run derby, made the All-Star team,
Ball, that's out.
and has solidified himself as the starting first baseman. That's strike one. Well-placed pitch by Arrieta, but he had to get a strike over with a 3-0 count. Still a hitter's count for Alonso. 3 balls, 1 strike. That's down low, ball 4, and Alonso was walked for the second time now in this game.
The batter, number 24, second baseman, Robinson Cano.
So the Mets have a base runner with 2 outs. And now here's Robinson Cano. He's 0 for 1. He grounded out in his first at bat. The Mets got Brandon Nimmo aboard with a leadoff single, but then Jeff McNeil lined out to first, and Hoskins was able to tag Nimmo out before he reached the bag. And now Cano, with Alonso on first, grounds to Segura, who throws to Hoskins. He's out, and the top of the third inning is over. The Mets get no runs on 1 hit. There was 1 walk in the inning and 1 runner left on base. Going to the bottom of the third inning, it's the Phillies 2 and the Mets 0. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Coming to the bottom of the third, the 2-3-4 hitters in the Phillies order will bat: Andrew McCutchen, Bryce Harper, and Rhys Hoskins.
1-0.
Andrew McCutchen showing some of his old form. He's been an on-base machine this season. That's what he was most known for all his years in Pittsburgh. And he's been helping out the Phillies certainly at the top of the order, getting on base. He lines out there. That's out number 1. That'll bring up Bryce Harper.
The right fielder, number 3.
Before he comes up, though, we'll take a look at the standings in the National League East. See the Phillies and the Nats tied for first place, and the Mets, though they're in last place, they're not far out from first place, and they're a game behind the Braves for 4th place. The Braves, for their standards, have struggled this season with all the talent they have. They just haven't gotten off to a hot start. They've won the National League East over the last 2 seasons. They haven't done much this season. The East was competitive last year. I already talked about how the Phillies finished with an 81-81 record, and that was good for 4th place above the Marlins, and we all know the Marlins have been rebuilding now for the last couple seasons. But 4 of the 5 teams in this division last season finished with a winning percentage of .500 or more.
3-0 the count.
And every team in the National League East this offseason did something, made some signing that made their team slightly better. 3-ball, no-strike pitch. Michael Wacha into the windup. That's a strike, and the count's 3-1. Three-ball, one-strike pitch. Bryce Harper in a hitter's count. Lined into right field, but foul, and that runs the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Full count pitch. Grounded foul, and the count's still full. 3-2. Harper struck out against Wacha back in the first inning, now getting his second plate appearance here in the third. High fly ball into right field. Conforto looking at the wall. That's off the very top of the wall, and Bryce Harper content with a double.
the bat, the first baseman.
Let's watch where that pitch hit again.
Hoskins.
Wow. That top part of the wall can't hit it much higher than that before it goes over, but that's a double for Harper. Now here's Rhys Hoskins, who doubled in the first inning, and he comes up 1-for-1 against Waka. But speaking to just how good the National League East is, the Nationals are the reigning World Series champions. They signed Eric Thames to be a middle-of-the-order bat and play first base. The Phillies signed Didi Gregorius in the offseason and Zach Wheeler to bolster the rotation. The Marlins made a bunch of signings, including veteran players like Francisco Cervelli, Matt Joyce.
No balls, 2 strikes.
They claimed Jesus Aguilar off waivers and traded for Jonathan Villar. So they've been making some moves. The Braves went out and signed Marcell Ozuna and Will Smith to bolster their bullpen as Hoskins strikes out, and the strikeout is completed by Ramos. That's out number 2.
Now batting, catcher, JT Realmuto.
The Mets signed some pitchers. Michael Wacha was one of them. They also went out and signed Rick Porcello, who pitched for the Red Sox and was a part of their 2018 World Series winning team. And so far the East is falling competitively. You just see a scramble now. The Braves not in first place anymore. The Nationals, reigning World Series champions, tied with the Phillies, who had a great team on paper last year but finished 4th. The Marlins are even in the mix. The Marlins are in 3rd place with a 28-26 record. So they've got a healthy mix now of up-and-coming prospects, as well as some of the veterans they signed, and they've put together a good ball club. Line to left, that's a fair ball down in the left field corner. Bryce Harper will score from second base. Realmuto on his way to second. 2-out RBI double for Realmuto, and it's 3-0 now. The Phillies lead the Mets.
The bat, the shortstop, Didi Gregorius.
Just a bit out in front of that pitch, but it stayed fair. And Harper with 2 outs able to score from second base. And now here's Didi Gregorius, who hit a solo home run last inning. In the dirt, blocked by Ramos. Counts 1-0. Michael Wacha pitched a scoreless first inning, gave up 2 runs in the second, and a run in here in the third. And Gregorius ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Gregorius third on the Phillies with 26 RBIs. He got his 26th RBI with the home run he hit last inning. Strike 1. Counts 2 balls and 1 strike. Michael Wacha pitching to the Phillies' new shortstop. Signed a deal this offseason. Former New York Yankee. Of course, the Yankees made a huge investment into Garrett Cole, so Gregorius, who became a free agent, wasn't signed back by the ball club. So he signed with the Phillies. Michael Wacha covers the bag. Play made successfully. And that ends the third inning. Meanwhile, the Phillies got another run in that inning. JT Realmuto hit an RBI double. Extends their lead 3-0 going into the fourth. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. 5-6-7 hitters due up for the Mets. J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto, and Wilson Ramos are scheduled to bat. Davis is 0-for-1 against Jake Arrieta, who pitched 3 scoreless innings to begin this ball game. Davis third on the Mets with 24 RBIs. He's been quite a run producer this year. He's hit a few long balls as well. He has 11 on the season. That's tied for 7th in the National League entering play. He gets ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Jake Arrieta signed with the Phillies and started playing for them in the year 2018, former Chicago Cub. He was their ace once upon a time. Also won the Cy Young Award in 2015 for National League pitchers. His ERA for the entire season came out to a 1.77. But his second half earned run average was less than 1. It was like an ERA of 1/2, like a 0.5. Of course, he helped the Cubs into the wild card game. Shut the Pirates out at PNC Park. And then the Cubs made it all the way to the championship series. They ran into these Mets. Of course, the Mets lost to the Royals in that World Series, but Arrieta, quite an imposing figure. Hasn't been in his elite form since coming to Philadelphia, but still a nice veteran arm to have. He walks J.D. Davis to lead off the fourth inning.
The right fielder, number 30, Conforto.
Michael Conforto will come to the plate with nobody out and a runner on first. He's 0 for 1. He struck out in the second inning. First pitch of the plate appearances, tapped on the ground toward the right side. Hoskins to Gregorius for one. Back to Arrieta covering, but Conforto beats out the back end, so he'll reach on what has scored a fielder's choice. So with one out, top of the fourth inning, here's Wilson Ramos. He's singled back in the second inning. Now he faces Arrieta for the second time this game. That's a strike right over the middle of the plate. The count's 0-1. Ground ball right side. There's Segura to Gregorius at second. Back to Hoskins, but not in time. Another fielder's choice. Out at second is Conforto. Ramos reaches on what was a close play. So with two outs, top of the fourth inning, here comes Ahmed Rosario. He too singled in the second inning. He bats here with two outs and Ramos on first base. Arrieta getting into quite a rhythm now. He's working quickly. That pitch misses inside, counts 1-0. Arrieta, most known for pitching for three teams. He pitched for the Orioles early in his career.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Then pitched for the Cubs, which was the breakout part of his career. And now here with the Phillies. Team that is trying to figure out its identity. Grounded to short. Gregorius bobbles the ball. Ramos is safe at second, and Rosario safe at first. Ooh, the scorer's decision's a base hit on that one. I guess I can see that when you take into account Rosario's perspective and assuming that Ramos was going to make it to second safely. That'd have been a tough play for Gregorius to make. And that'll benefit the Mets as the pitcher spot comes up in this fourth inning, so Waka won't lead off next inning. Counts 0-1 on him. Waka's given up 3 runs in his start, and batting here makes it likely for him to come out to pitch the bottom of the fourth inning. Michael Waka started his career with the Cardinals, broke into the league in 2013. Almost threw a no-hitter with the Pirates, or against the Pirates in the playoffs in 2013 in Game 4 of the National League Division Series. Was an elite arm, struggled with injuries. And the Cardinals didn't sign it back. He reached free agency this season, so now he's looking to help out a Mets team that needs some strengthening in its rotation. The Mets lost Zach Wheeler to free agency, and Zach Wheeler went ahead and signed with the Phillies, the division rival. Waka smacks that pitch into right field. That's a base hit. Ramos doesn't run well, and Harper has a plus arm. So Ramos stops at third base. Rosario advances from first to second. And Michael Waka attributing to the offense a bit. Or contributing to the offense a bit. But he's aboard with a single, 2 outs, top of the order up. Now for the Mets, here's Brandon Nimmo. Bases loaded. 2 outs, top of the fourth. Softly hit towards center field. Jay Bruce running to get under it. He makes the catch. And the Phillies escape danger. The Mets fail to score after getting the bases loaded. Going to the bottom of the fourth inning, it's the Phillies 3 and the Mets 0. This is Major League Baseball's virtual network. You're about to see Heidi Watney on the screen. There she is, wearing a coat. It's a nice shade of red. I'm sure that the words she has to say are intelligent as well, but it'll be a mystery as to what she's going to say. We'll never know. 7, 8, 9 hitters due up for the Phillies coming up in this half inning. Jay Bruce, Scott Kingery, and then Jake Arrieta in the pitcher's spot. Jay Bruce 0 for 1 against Michael Wacha. The Mets left the bases loaded in the top of the 4th inning. So Wacha still pitching, down 3 runs. He gave up 2 home runs in the 2nd inning. 1 to Didi Gregorius and 1 to Scott Kingery, and then gave up a double to Bryce Harper, and then a JT Realmuto double that followed. That allowed Harper to score from second. So it's 3-0 Phillies coming into the 4th. And Jay Bruce is ahead in the count, 2 balls and a strike. Wacha even contributed in the top of the 4th inning. He got a single with 2 runners on. But Brandon Nimmo flew out on the first pitch that he saw. Counts even 2 balls and 2 strikes after that called strike. Here comes the pitch. In the dirt, strike 3. Ramos blocked it well. We'll have to throw to Alonso at first. That does complete the strikeout of Jay Bruce, and that's 1 out. Here in the bottom of the 4th. Now here comes Scott Kingery. Kingery homered off Michael Wacha back in the 2nd inning. Now comes up for his 2nd plate appearance against him in this game. Strike 1. This is game 1 of a 3-game series between these two teams. The Phillies are finishing up a 6-game homestand. As that pitch misses, it counts 1-1. Oh, I correct myself. The Mets are finishing up a 6-game road trip, and the Phillies are starting a homestand. This is game 1 of a 3-game series. Well played by J.D. Davis, throws to Alonso, and that's 2 outs in the bottom of the 4th. Michael Wacha rebounding well after giving up runs in back-to-back innings. But most recently, the Mets won 2 out of 3 games against the Braves. And the Phillies lost 2 of 3 against the Rockies. The Phillies are playing back-to-back division rivals. We'll play the Mets in a 3-game series, and then we'll start a series with the Nationals over the weekend. 1-0 pitch to Jake Arrieta. That misses outside. The count's 2-0. Two O's fouled off. The count's 2-1. Jake Arrieta 0 for 1 against Wacha. Arrieta been pitching well through the first 4 innings.
I got to count 2-2.
This counts even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Flight into center field, played by Brandon Nimmo, and the inning comes to a close. The Phillies get no runs on no hits and leave no runners on base in that half inning. Going to the 5th, it's the Phillies 3 and the Mets 0. Back now to start inning number 5. Here's Heidi Watney again. Excellent insight. Coming into the 5th, 2, 3, 4 hitters due up for the Mets. Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, and Robinson Cano. McNeil lined into a double play in his last at bat. He's 0 for 2 in the game. That pitch misses inside. The count's 1-0. McNeil is now 13 for 22 against Arrieta in his career. Counts 2-0. He gets ahead early. McNeil, along with getting on base consistently and having a high average, he also has great discipline at the plate. Hit in the air toward right field. Back toward the wall goes Harper, but the catch made. That's out number 1. Harper able to run it down.
Now batting, The first baseman, Pete Alonso.
So with one out, here comes Pete Alonso, who's walked both times in his first 2 plate appearances.
Ball, that's inside.
Pete Alonso hit the most home runs in all of baseball last season. He knocked 53 out of the park, and that was his rookie season. That's outside the count's 2-0. Line towards shortstop, but Gregorius able to play it and throws to Rhys Hoskins. There are now 2 outs in the top of the 5th.
The batter, number 24, second baseman, Robinson Cano.
So 2 outs in the top of the 5th. Robinson Cano will come to the plate. The Phillies up 3-0. They got 2 runs in the second and a run in the third. The Mets left the bases loaded last inning. They failed to score. Cano lines it into left, base hit. 2-out single for the Mets. The Mets have been getting hits consistently. They just haven't been able to push across any runs yet.
Now batting, the third baseman,
Well, unconventionally of Cano, he hits that pitch toward the left side. Oppo, he goes with an outside pitch. Able to hit it well and net himself a hit. So with 2 outs, runner on first, here is J.D. Davis. Chops that first pitch on the ground, left side. Kingery cuts off Segura to make the play. Cuts off Gregorius to make the play. Throws to Segura. Gets the force out at second. And the inning comes to a close. No runs on a hit. 1 runner left on for the Mets. Going to the bottom of the 5th. It's the Phillies 3 and the Mets 0. Here comes Gene Segura to bat. Bottom of the 5th inning coming around, and the Phillies will send their leadoff hitters to the plate. Gene Segura, Andrew McCutchen, and Bryce Harper, top of the order, due up. A couple of Mets pitchers warming up in the bullpen now. Lefty Justin Wilson and Brad Brach, the righty. 1 ball, no strike pitch. Down low, counts 2-0. Segura has played for a few teams in his career. The Brewers, the Diamondbacks, the Mariners. Now playing for the Phillies. Before leaving Seattle, he had signed an extension with that team. He was their shortstop and was hoped to be the shortstop of the future. But the Mariners just, over the last 10, 20 years, they haven't really gotten anything together with their team. They haven't been able to put together a good, consistent team. And so Segura's extension wasn't helping them out, so the Phillies were willing to take on his contract. So they traded for him in the 2018-2019 offseason. And the Phillies had a great offseason that year, acquiring Gene Segura, signing Bryce Harper, acquiring JT Realmuto. I mean, so many pieces fell together well for them last year. They just weren't able to make playoffs in an NL East division that was very competitive. On the ground towards short, there's Rosario. Throws to Alonso. That's the first out of the bottom of the 5th.
The left fielder, number 22, Andrew McCutchen.
Here's Andrew McCutchen coming to the plate. 0 for 2, that's bumped his average down to 317. McCutchen was another acquisition in the 2018-19 offseason. He was signed to play left field. He signed a 3-year, $50 million contract. Nothing quite compared to Bryce Harper's 13-year, $330 million contract, but still a veteran outfielder, still a nice presence to have on the team, gets on base, still runs well, and his defense in center field with the Pirates was critiqued harshly, but playing left field has seemed to do him wonders ever since he's transitioned to that position. Davis makes the play, throws to Alonso. McCutchen's out at first, and that's 2 quick outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning as Walker's pitch count moves up toward 80. Here comes Bryce Harper to the plate. Harper doubled and scored on JT Realmuto's double in the third inning. Well, he's batting here for the third time. And Michael Wacha still on the mound. He pitched well in the first inning, struggled in the second and third, but Wacha has been showing signs that he's making some adjustments and ultimately improving. Didn't give up any runs last inning and has 2 quick outs here in this inning. One-0 pitch. Popped into the air. Out to left field. There's Jeff McNeil. He makes the catch. And the Phillies go down 1-2-3. No runs on no hits and nobody left on for the Phillies in that inning. Through 5 full innings, it's the Phillies 3 and the Mets 0. This is Major League Baseball's virtual network. This game brought to you by MLB The Show 20, and all games for that matter are brought to you by MLB The Show 20 on this network. I'm Nicholas Callis. 6, 7, 8 hitters due up for the Mets to begin this half inning. Michael Conforto, Wilson Ramos, and Ahmed Rosario. Grounded foul on the first pitch. The count's 0-1. Don't forget, if you want more news on this channel, you can follow us on Twitter at VirtualMLB is the handle. And on YouTube, we're MLB Virtual Network. You can subscribe and get notifications on when we go live, as well as when we upload highlights and the updates after every day. Line towards center field. That's going to be a base hit. And that'll get up against the wall. Conforto moving to second base. And he's in there with a leadoff double.
Now batting, catcher, Wilson Ramos.
Watch where this pitch was again. That was over the lower inside part of the plate. And Conforto shot that toward the left side of the outfield. Well, he's able to square it up. Nobody out. Here's Wilson Ramos, who's 1 for 2. He reached on the fielder's choice in his most recent at-bat. Facing Jake Arrieta for the third time. Arrieta hasn't been lights out in this game, but he's done enough to keep the Mets scoreless through 5 innings, and now here in the 6th. But the Mets have gotten runners on base, and they left the bases loaded a couple innings ago. But evidently they haven't scored any runs. Swing and a miss, the count's 2-1. Wacha, on the other hand, got burned by some extra base hits. He gave up 2 solo home runs in the second. He gave up an RBI double in the third. So the Phillies have capitalized and been able to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and the Mets have gotten runners in scoring position, but have failed to score to this point. Lined into left field, and that's foul. The count remains 2-2. And this game's certainly not out of hand. 3 runs, an overcomable sum. 2-2 pitch. Lined into right field, and Ramos is 2 for 3 now. Harper will play it. And Michael Conforto is held at third base. That'll put runners on the corners with nobody out. Well, Harper, a great arm out there in right field, and nobody in the league willing to challenge that anymore, which is certainly understandable. That pitch misses low to Ahmed Rosario, who's 2 for 2, a couple of knocks, a couple of singles. Jake Arrieta is above 80 pitches now in his pitch count. He and Wacha, despite the difference in score, have roughly the same pitch count at this point in the game. That pitch is called a strike. The count's 1-1. Rosario never really been a run producer. Has a .212 average with runners in scoring position this season. That's in the dirt. Realmuto blocks it. Ramos stays at first, and Conforto stays at third. 2 balls, 1 strike. Down low, counts 3-1. The pitcher spot's on deck. Michael Wacha has a base hit in this game, but just for the mere fact he's given up 3 runs, Mets management will have some decision making to do. Try to say that 3 times fast. Mets management 3-1 pitch. Ground ball, left side, base hit past Gregorius. Conforto will score from third as McCutchen gets it in. Ramos advances to second. Rosario's on first base now with an RBI single, his third single of the game. It's now 3-1. Mets still trail, but a mound visit coming for Jake Arrieta.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Pinch hitting for New York.
So Michael Wacha's done. He will be relieved with a pinch hitter. Or he will be relieved with a pinch hitter. My goodness. Quarantine has really helped my words to slur more than they should be.
Ball one, no strike.
Counts 1 ball and no strikes to Eduardo Nunez. This is his first year with the Mets. He formerly played for the Red Sox as a utility man. Line toward the right side of the infield. There's Segura to Gregorius. Back to Hoskins. That's a double play. And the Phillies out of immediate danger. 2 outs, runner on third, but the Phillies avoid the bases being loaded. Segura, Gregorius out at seconds. Rosario out at first is Nunez. So Ramos is on third base with 2 outs in the top of the 6th. And here is Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo is 1 for 3 in this game. He had a single earlier. As a couple of pitchers warming up now in the Phillies bullpen. Adam Morgan and Sir Anthony Dominguez. A couple pitchers who have struggled as well, especially Sir Anthony Dominguez. He throws hard, but his consistency and his control with the baseball have caused him to not close for this team anymore. Speaking of strong relievers, though, Hector Neris has been very solid this season, upwards of 14 saves. And David Robertson, another elite arm that the Phillies went out and signed in the 2018-19 offseason, but he got hurt toward the end of last season, and he's not expected to pitch at all in 2020. 2-1 pitch. Ground ball left side. There's Scott Kingery. Throws to Rhys Hoskins. Out at first is Nimmo, and that ends the top of the 6th. The Mets had the inning set up well early. They got a run, but that's the only one they scored after a double play. Really killed the rally that they had. Moving to the bottom of the 6th. It's 3-1. The Phillies lead the Mets.
Your attention, please.
Here's Brad Brach coming out of the bullpen to pitch here for the Mets. He's 2-5 in his appearances. He's pitched in 24 games. Has a 7.52 ERA and has pitched a total of 20 1/3 innings. So he's averaging less than an inning per appearance. 4, 5, 6 hitters, the middle of the order due up for the Phillies in this half inning. Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, and Didi Gregorius. Ball 1 to Rhys Hoskins, who's 1 for 2. He had a double earlier in the game, most recently got out. And he starts off the bottom of the 6th for the Phillies, who are up 3-1. The Mets just got a run in the top of the 6th. The Phillies scored all 3 of their runs in innings 2 and 3. They got 2 solo home runs from Didi Gregorius and Scott Kingery in the 2nd inning. And then in the 3rd inning, JT Realmuto hit an RBI double.
Count 2-1.
Ahmed Rosario got the RBI single for the Mets in the top of this inning, and that's been the scoring from either team to this point. The 2-1 pitch is swung out and missed. Counts 2-2. Rhys Hoskins has been known for his power bat. He was a home run derby participant in 2018.
3-2.
Also, he's had some trouble defensively. He came up to the majors as an outfielder, but the Phillies went out and acquired all the outfielders in that 2018-2019 offseason. They got McCutchen to play left and Harper to play right, so Hoskins was able to transition to first base. And the Phillies, who had Carlos Santana, ended up trading him away because he wasn't producing well, and that opened up a spot for Hoskins to go and play first base, which has helped create a consistent and dangerous Phillies lineup, while keeping them defensively sound as well. Count still full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Brad Brach fresh out of the bullpen for the Mets. 3-2. Popped up. And that's foul. Count remains full, 3-2. And Hoskins creating a long plate appearance here. The 9th pitch of this plate appearance coming up next. Up high, ball 4, and a quality at bat to begin the bottom of the 6th by Rhys Hoskins. A 9-pitch at bat, or a 9-pitch plate appearance, ends in a walk. Runner on first, nobody out for the Phillies. Here's JT Realmuto. Realmuto, an RBI. He hit an RBI double, 1 for 2. Are his total so far in this game. 3-1, the Phillies lead it. This is game 1 of a 3-game series, as Realmuto takes strike 1. It's been quite a competitive NL East so far this season. The Nationals and Phillies are tied for first place with 29 and 23 records. So the Phillies trying to maintain pace with the Nats. Ground ball toward the middle. Bobbled at shortstop by Ahmed Rosario. And that'll be an error charge to Rosario as Hoskins advances to second on the play. And Realmuto's aboard at first. The Marlins are in third place, 2 games back of the Nationals and Phillies. 28-26 is their record. And we'll take a look back real quick at Didi Gregorius' solo home run. This broke the scoreless tie in the second inning. It was one of 2 runs and 2 home runs of that inning. And the Phillies still lead it. 3-1 is the score. Then the Braves are in fourth place with a 27-28 record, and the Mets 25-28 record. They're 4.5 games back of first place. Lined into the right center field gap. Hoskins rounds third. He'll score from second base. Realmuto goes from first to third, and Gregorius is in with his second RBI of the game. He's got himself a double. And the Phillies have 2 runners in scoring position with nobody out. Look at that, turned on well, great part of the bat. Made contact with the ball and was stung into the right center field gap. Gets him an extra base hit and a run batted in. Now here's Jay Bruce, who will be intentionally walked. Of course, that rule was implemented a couple years ago where a pitcher doesn't have to throw 4 straight balls to a batter. You just give the signal for the batter to go to first base. So now the bases are loaded. There's still nobody out. And here's Scott Kingery coming up to the plate. Kingery is 1 for 2. He hit a solo home run back in the second inning. Now he's batting here for the 3rd time. That's ball 1. It misses low. The count's 1-0. Kingery's .288 average is good for second on the Phillies team. Some other games involving National League East teams. The Marlins are playing the Cubs today. The Nationals are playing an interleague game against the Rangers. And the Cardinals are playing the Braves. And we're featuring one of those games on this network. The Cardinals and the Braves will be playing each other. That start time is at 7:20. Or it's scheduled for 7:20. Grounded to second, Cano to Rosario. Back to Alonso. That's a double play. Meanwhile, another run comes in to score. That's not an RBI for Scott Kingery. But nonetheless, that puts a run across for the Phillies. It's now 5-1. Pretty smooth double play there. Cano and Rosario in sync. And the return throw accurate.
Your attention, please.
So Jake Arrieta will be done. After 6 innings, Nick Williams will come off the bench to pinch hit. Runner on third, 2 outs. Paul Sewald and Juris Familia are in the bullpen for the Mets now. Adam Morgan and Sir Anthony Dominguez were the most recent pitchers warming up in the Phillies bullpen. Nothing in one pitch. Upstairs counts even 1-1. But the Mets and Phillies are the only teams right now that are from the National League East that are playing each other. The Nats are playing in an interleague series with the Rangers. The Braves are playing the NL Central team, the Cardinals, and the Marlins also going to the NL Central. They're going to Wrigley Field to play the Cubs and starting a series with them today. And again, this NL East division has been so competitive. Every win and every result matters for these teams, especially for the Phillies and Nationals, who are tied for first place right now. And even for a team like the Mets, who are just 4.5 games back of first place, can use every win that they can get. 1-2 pitch. Inside, count evens up 2-2. Brad Brach throwing the 2-2 pitch, line towards center. It's caught by Ahmed Rosario. And that ends the 6th inning. Meanwhile, the Phillies push across 2 runs. And at the end of 6 full innings, it's the Phillies 5 and the Mets 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention,
Jose
please.
Alvarez.
Now pitching for the Phillies.
We haven't seen him throwing in the bullpen at all, but here he comes to pitch for the Phillies to start inning number 7. Also known for pitching for the Tigers.
Leading off for the
Deolis Garcia and Sir Anthony Dominguez warming up
number 6.
in the Phillies bullpen. The Mets also have Paul Sewald and Jeurys Familia warming up in their bullpen as Jeff McNeil flies that pitch toward left center field. McCutchen calls off Jay Bruce to make the catch. And 1 pitch results in 1 out to begin the 7th inning.
Now batting, the first baseman, Pete Alonso.
Just a mention of our other games going on MLB's virtual network tonight. This is only the first game. We had a late start for our game scheduled for today, and there's reasons for that, but the Cardinals and Braves will be playing each other at 7:20, and I'll be on the call for that game. And then the Angels are hosting the Indians, so that game starting at 9:20 for our Western time zone, Pacific time zone fans to be able to watch. And Matt Vasgersian, Mark DeRosa, and Dan Plesac will be on the call for the 9:20 game between the Indians and Angels. 1-2 pitch. Outside counts even 2-2. But still plenty of baseball. Still 3 guaranteed games a day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network. If you're looking for more news on this network, such as transactions, injury updates, results of your team, you can check out the Twitter page at VirtualMLB is the handle. And if you're looking for notifications on when we upload videos, when we go live, you can check out MLB Virtual Network. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Grounded foul, the count's still full 3-2. Three-two pitch to Pete Alonso. That's hit in the air. Left center field, Jay Bruce running back. He's toward the wall, and he makes the catch. Close to being a home run, but not quite for Pete Alonso. That's out number 2 in the top of the 7th. With 2 outs, Robinson Cano will come to the plate. Cano is 1 for 3. He singled in the 5th inning, facing Jose Alvarez for the first time in this game. And this matchup very much favors Alvarez. Cano, in recent years, has not had good numbers against left-handed pitching. That's grounded foul. The count's 0-1. Cano, former New York Yankee, came up with the Yankees in 2005. Played there till 2013. Signed a contract with the Mariners in the 2013-14 offseason. Played there from 2014 to 2018. And then in the 2018-19 offseason, he got traded to the Mets. And he's become their everyday second baseman. Cano in Seattle, the only real blemish on his career was that he was suspended 80 games for PED use in 2018. And of course, without his bat, the Mariners struggled. And it wasn't a good look for him, but New York was excited to get him and Edwin Diaz out of a trade. And he's returned to New York to play for the Mets, the other team. And this is something interesting to think about, too. The New York Mets have been in a World Series more recently than the New York Yankees have. Mets made it in 2015. The Yankees' last World Series appearance was 2009. Cano swings and misses, and that ends the top of the 7th inning. No runs on no hits and nobody left on for the Mets. Going to the bottom of the 7th, it's the Phillies 5 and the Mets 1. There's Paul Sewald coming out of the bullpen. And everybody in the bullpen should be fresh for each team. Each team had a weekend series and then had a day off yesterday, so they're each starting this 3-game series on a day's rest. Here's Gene Segura. He takes strike 1. This is game 1 of a 3-game series. The Phillies starting a homestand. We'll play the Mets in a 3-game series, and then we'll start a weekend series with the Nationals. As we head into June. That pitch hit in the left field, back toward the wall. That's off the wall. McNeil plays it. Gets it into Rosario, and that's a leadoff double for Gene Segura.
Now batting, left fielder, Andrew McCutchen.
But can anybody believe it's almost June? I mean, the months have just been kind of dragging on ever since the coronavirus shut down pretty much the world. It's been kind of an upsetting time, but I mean, we're looking into June now, and at least here on the East Coast, it's been upwards of 75, 80 degrees. I'm excited to enjoy summer anyway I can, as that pitch is hit to center field. Base hit for Andrew McCutchen. Nimmo throws it in. It's cut off by Alonso. Scoring from second base is Gene Segura. And Andrew McCutchen nets himself an RBI. It's now 6-1. The Phillies lead the Mets. Bottom of the 7th, nobody out. Bryce Harper at the plate. The Phillies have a run in this inning. Paul Sewald fresh out of the bullpen. Michael Walker pitched 5 innings. Brad Broch pitched in the 6th, gave up a couple runs, and not all of them were earned. But Paul Sewald, fresh out of the bullpen, gave up a run, grounded to Alonso, to Rosario for 1, back to Alonso covering double play, and 2 quick outs for the Mets in the bottom of the 7th inning.
The first baseman, number 17, Reese Hoskins.
Reese Hoskins will come to the plate with 2 outs, and now the base is empty. Hoskins has an extra base hit in this game. He's 1 for 2 in total. He also worked a walk in his most recent plate appearance. Facing Paul Sewald for the first time in this game. Strike 1 called over the outside edge. Counts 0-1. Hoskins, the first baseman of the Phillies. 0-1 pitch coming to him. Outside, counts even 1-1. Ground ball and foul. Counts 1 ball and 2 strikes. Popped up and foul. Count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reese Hoskins worked a 9-pitch plate appearance before walking in his last plate appearance. But he strikes out here against Sewald. And that ends the 7th inning. The Phillies get another run on the board, thanks to a couple hits. Nobody left on base. Going to inning 8, it's 6-1. The Phillies lead the Mets here at Citizens Bank Park.
Your attention, please.
Coming out of the bullpen for the Phillies is Deolis Garcia.
Number 57.
As we begin the 8th inning here at Citizens Bank Park, the Phillies leading 6-1. And the 5, 6, 7 hitters in the Mets order coming up to bat.
Leading off for the Mets,
J.D. Davis,
third baseman,
the one to lead off.
J.D. Davis.
Swinging a foul ball, the count's 0-1. So Jake Arrieta went 6 complete innings. Didn't give up any runs in his start. Jose Alvarez pitched last inning. He gave up a run. And now we're in the 8th inning. And the Mets are down by 5. We've had several high-scoring games, too, covered here on Major League Baseball's virtual network recently. No game's been tense in quite a while, and I'm not trying to jinx that. That's the first play of the inning. Scott Kingery makes it. Throws to Rhys Hoskins. That's out number 1. Also, for all of you watching Major League Baseball's virtual network right now, I'd just like to give you a thank you. I've heard some criticisms about just simulations in general, but it's awesome that many of you are participating in live chats and enjoying baseball and being able to play pretend well. I miss baseball just as much as anybody else, but it's awesome that there is a group of people around that enjoy, or that are able to enjoy, what's being given to them at the moment. So that's awesome. Appreciate you guys for supporting the channel. And hopefully you guys are supporting all the simulations or all the other work that media members are doing to give us sports when we don't have them right now. Michael Conforto quickly down to the count. No balls and 2 strikes against Deolis Garcia. In the dirt.
Count 1 and 2.
The count's 1-2. Strike 3 called at the top of the zone, and Conforto down 4 out, number 2.
Now batting, catcher, Wilson Ramos.
You know, there's something I forgot to mention too about the Mets, which might provide them a problem or might be a good thing, but Yoenis Cespedes is working on a return to play for the Mets. Now, there have been some question marks about his health, but from what I know right now, he's been doing well, and the Mets might be expecting him back in a week or 2, which would be huge for them. That's assuming that he's able to play like he used to play, you know, his elite self. But we'll have to see, but that's the latest rumor right now. Cespedes getting healthy and might be coming back by next week. That'll pose a problem for McNeil and Davis, but I guess the Mets will cross that bridge when they get to it. That pitch is fouled off. The count's still 0-2 on Wilson Ramos, the catcher of the Mets. Ramos, a former Washington National and Tampa Bay Ray. He also played for the Phillies briefly a few seasons ago.
Count is 1 and 2.
Counts 1-2. Deolis Garcia got the first 2 outs quickly, but his plate appearance elongated. Grounded left side. There's Kingery. Throws to Hoskins, and that ends the top of the 8th. The Mets go down again in order. No runs, no hits, and nobody left on. Going to the bottom of the 8th inning, it's the Phillies 6 and the Mets 1. This is Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. And this seeming like an indication of a double switch. Let's listen in and see what it is.
These changes for the Mets. Now pitching and batting in the 7th spot, number 38, Justin Wilson. Now catching and batting 9, number 3, Tomas Nido.
All right, so if you didn't hear that, here it is again. Justin Wilson's now in the game to pitch. Seems obvious enough because he's the new pitcher on the mound. But the Mets now have Tomas Nido as their catcher. Tomas Nido, excuse me. But he's their catcher now. He's batting 9th. So when the Mets come up to bat again, they'll have their 8-9 one-hitters due up. So Nito will eliminate the need for a pinch hitter in the top of the ninth. JT Realmuto ahead in the count quickly. 2 balls and no strikes. Sharp ground ball, right side. There's Cano. Throws to Alonso. That's out number 1.
The batter,
So Justin Wilson, the lefty on the mound, came up with the Pittsburgh Pirates, was one of their strong bullpen arms, was traded to the Yankees in 2015. He's also spent time with the Tigers and with the Cubs. Now he's pitching for the Mets. Robert Geiselman and Juris Familia in the bullpen. The Mets continuing to attempt strides at keeping a strong pitching staff together. Got some older guys and some younger guys, but the majority of their team are veterans. One pitch to Gregorius. That's a strike that counts 1 and 2. I mean, the Mets have definitely shifted in recent years from promoting young talent to acquiring veteran players to help them win games, as that's popped up. There's Ahmed Rosario. That's out number 2. You saw it with last offseason when Cano was acquired, Wilson Ramos was signed. And this offseason they went out and signed Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha, who have reached the veteran stages of their career. They're also trying to compensate, too, for the loss of Noah Syndergaard. He's having arm surgery, or he had arm surgery, but it's Tommy John surgery, so he's not going to pitch at all in 2020. He's on the injured list right now and isn't expected back until next season. And the Mets working with what they have, some veteran players, few young players that could shape their future. There's just a big question mark for them going forward. They saw some success at the end of last season, almost made the playoffs, but couldn't quite get it done. And earlier this season they were struggling. They've been doing better, but losing this game, and Jeff McNeil makes the catch to end the 8th inning. No runs on no hits and nobody left on for the Phillies. Last chance for the Mets in the top of the 9th. It's 6-1. You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network, brought to you by MLB The Show 20. I'm Nicholas Callis. Ahmed Rosario to lead off for the Mets. It'll be Tomas Nido, Ahmed Rosario. No, excuse me, backwards. Ahmed Rosario, then Tomas Nido, and then back to the top, Brandon Nimmo. Deolis Guerra still on the mound for the Phillies. Lined into left, that's foul, and the count quickly 1 ball and 2 strikes. Line toward left field. McCutcheon's not going to be able to play that. That lands fair. And off the wall, McCutcheon will get it into Gregorius. That's a leadoff double for Ahmed Rosario. And Rosario now with 15 doubles on the season. Quite a hefty amount. Just hit it perfectly into that corner. Gets himself an extra base hit. Now here's Tomas Nido. Strictly been a backup catcher for the Mets over the years, and he grounds that pitch toward the right side. There's Segura throwing to Hoskins. That's out number 1. Rosario moves from second to third on the play.
Now batting, the center fielder, Brandon.
That'll bring up the top of the order for the Mets. Brandon Nimmo steps up to bat. He's 1 for 4. He's singled in the 3rd inning. Other than that, he's gone 0 for 3 today. Deolis Guerra pitching in his 2nd inning of work now. He came in last inning. Nothing in 1 pitch. Grounded sharply toward the middle. played by Gene Segura, throws to Rhys Hoskins. That's out number 2. Ahmed Rosario scored from third base. But at this point, that's inconsequential for the Phillies. They have a 4-run lead still, 2 outs, top of the 9th inning. And Jeff McNeil coming to the plate now. The Mets with 1 out to work with. This is game 1 of a 3-game series, and this is the only NL East matchup, the only NL East series that will be played over the next 3 days. All the other NL East teams are playing out of this division. Fly ball into center field. There's Jay Bruce. Catch made, and the ball game is over. The Philadelphia Phillies win by a final score of 6-2. They had strong offense early, which helped them carry this game away. McCutchen, Bruce, and Harper celebrating with each other out in the outfield. The Phillies continue to keep pace with the Nationals. There's no result yet of the Nationals game. But at this very moment, because the Nationals haven't played yet, the Phillies are in first place. They're a half game above the Nationals for first place. The Mets fall further into last place. The Mets record falls to 25-29. They're 5.5 games back of the division lead. And they're 2 games back now of the Braves. The Phillies improved to 30-23. They're the first National League East team to reach 30 wins this season. They're a half game up on the Nationals. And everybody at the moment in the NL East moves a half game back. Except for the Mets, who move a full game back because the Phillies and Mets played each other, so the Phillies directly affect the Mets. But we'll wait for the results in the NL East. You'll see that later tonight, the results and standings updates. But the Marlins are playing the Cubs today. The Braves are playing the Cardinals. That game featured here at 7:20 on MLB Virtual Network. And the Nationals are playing an interleague game against the Rangers. So all those games will have results by the end of the night. You can check out the results of those games in our results and standings update that gets posted every night. But here from Citizens Bank Park, the Phillies beat the Mets. Final score of this game, 6-2. Jake Arrieta got the win, and Michael Wacha got the loss. He gave up 3 earned runs, struck out 4, gave up just 6 hits. Wasn't a bad outing for him, just he couldn't get the win. He gave up early runs and wasn't as sharp as Arrieta was, who gave up just 1 earned run, struck out 2, gave up 9 hits in his start. Arrieta gave up all 9 hits that the New York Mets got as a team. No, 9 of the 10 hits that the Mets got as a team. But anyway, that'll do it here from Citizens Bank Park. Phillies win 6-2, final score. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.